Hello, Mr. Lange. Today, my U.S. Government Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Project, I chose to do the multimedia presentation in the 5 to 7 minute video over Brown versus the Board of Education in a beautiful world of Minecraft. So, for historical context on Brown and Board of Education and the reason why it was fighting for civil rights, which makes it to where every single citizen is seen as equal. The historical context is after the Civil War, during the Reconstruction era, Jim Crow laws were passed, and this was basically just restricting blacks' voting rights, restricting their rights to go places, just restricting their rights as citizens, which takes away their civil rights. And it did so many things. And in 1986, the Supreme Court case, Plessy versus Ferguson, ended up supporting these Jim Crow laws because it took train carts and separated them between whites and blacks. It created a precedent, and out of this court case, it set a new policy called separated but equal, and it made it to where blacks and whites could have separated facilities for different places, but it had to be of equal quality. And this did not show at all, because whites were always shown as a lot more pretty and a lot more well run than a black's cart, and this extended to more than just train cars. And Plessy was arguing against these separated but equal policies, but this wasn't set until after the court case, the quote unquote separated but equal. But Plessy was arguing against the train car separation, and he argued that it was against the 13th and 14th Amendment. The Supreme Court ended up ruling against him, and that's how the separated but equal came to be. And that had a really big impact on the civil rights of black Americans, because it treated them as less than whites, which is just extremely unfair and not civil rights. So then Brown versus the Board of Education came in, and that was arguing against the segregation in schools. White schools and black schools, those obviously taught different people. White schools were seen as much more pretty, much more better, and just highly sophisticated compared to black schools. Black schools oftentimes were just shacks like this, with floors in the or holes in the floor and little windows like this with just shutters, not even glass. And this really captured the virtues of America at the time, because it showed how poorly we treated these black citizens compared to white citizens. And Brown argued against this fact, and he argued, like Plessy did, he argued that this was against the 14th Amendment, which comes to the constitutional analysis on this. Brown argued the segregation of public schools was not upholding to the separate but equal policy that Plessy versus Ferguson set, because, although it is separate, it's nowhere near being equal with how drastic the levels of education and just building themselves are. And so it ended up ruling towards Brown because it was a violation of the 14th Amendment, which established every U.S. citizen, or every person is a citizen. It doesn't matter skin color, and this separation was against the civil rights that that amendment gives you. So it was ruled against it. And this also overturned the separate but equal policy, because it realized that it was treating blacks as less than a human. So it ended up spreading policies throughout history, and even after Brown versus the Board of Education, that court case was used as a baseline for many new court cases, such as fighting for housing rights, fighting for bathroom rights, for restaurants and where you can eat for black people, so that they can have civil rights and be equal. It was also a big motivation for the civil rights movement itself, such as just equal civil rights, obviously, and voting rights too. And Nowadays, because of Brown versus the Board of Education, it could be argued that this is entirely responsible on why we have like really strong civil rights values and we hold people equal to one another. Although there might be some people that still see other people as inferior, the government at least doesn't. So it sparked many civil rights movements, as I said, and nowadays you can see classrooms having many different races together with them and not having separated classrooms in general. So, like Foster High School. So yeah, that is my project on Brown versus the Board of Education. Thank you very much.